Coach Pittman, we are live. Are you ready to kick this thing out, brother?
Let's go, baby.
Let's do it.
KTTV, giving you what you need. Motivation, education unleashed. H-Town representing, we forever keep it rolling. Join the conversation with inspirational stories. Thought-provoking, feel that energy. Kendrick Thomas aiming to lift the community. True indeed, tune in, come and see. Giving you what you need. KTTV, let's go. KTTV.
Why? What it do, KTTV? This is KT, and we are here on another episode of Education Unleashed. And on today's episode, I have none other than the guy, the coach, the mentor, the educator, the man himself, Mr. Desmond Pittman. How you doing today, Coach?
I'm doing good, brother. I'm doing good. Good to see you again. Thank you for having me on your show.
Look, man, we are here for another one. I want to say thank you, man, for taking some time out. As we talked in the pregame, you got a lot going. You got a lot back there on the board. So I appreciate you, man, because I tell my kids all the time, time is something that we will never get back. Most valuable resource we got, man. So welcome to the building one more time, man.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir. Man, if I had some sound effects, it'll be like, hey, how about, look, that might be season 3. Y'all get ready.
Yeah, stay tuned.
Hey, but so brother, before we jump into this thing, man, it's so important that we do that wellness check and check in on each other, regardless of it's a short time away, a long time away. So how have you been doing mentally, physically, spiritually? And how's that school year going for you, brother?
Well, everything is going well. You know, I will say that everything is a choice.
Hey.
You know, especially being in education for teachers. You know, it's definitely what you make it. You know, you want to be able to leave personal things at home and come and show up and be your best for the kids. And that touches into your physical. Mm-hmm. So hopefully a lot of our educators are, physically taking care of themselves, as in getting the right amount of sleep, eating the right amount of food and drinking a lot of water. Drink plenty of water. That helps the body, mind, and the soul. So that's my advice for feeling good. Drink that water.
Drink that water, man. And so, man, on top of taking care of yourself, man, how's the year going for you, man? I know I was able to see you when we did the Man Up event. Man, he was over there shining like new money, man. So what else been going on with the school high?
Just trying to keep as many outside resources coming into the school as we can to provide for the kids that need those resources.
Yes, sir.
It's a pretty good setup. The way the school runs and operates, which is most public schools. I will say that, they run, and for about 80 to 90% of kids, it works.
Yeah.
There's about that, about 10, maybe less percent of kids that, regardless what the school tries to do and all their powers and all their, limitations that they have, there's about 10% of kids that they can't reach. So that's really been my focus on how can I catch those kids that's falling through the cracks and going to that school to prison pipeline.
Come on, man. That's what it's about, brother. God, each one, teach one, and reach one. All of that.
Mm-hmm.
So I thank you for that work that you're doing, and I look forward to jumping more into the podcast and just being able to talk about that tonight, man.
Mm-hmm.
But before we get started, by way of Louisiana, inside of the 44, look, man, talk to me a little bit about the background and kind of catch us up on what's been happening since the last time we talked up there in the 44.
Yeah, so we probably got viewers out there that don't know what the 44 is, what that's about, where it is. Acres Homes, the community in Houston that it reminded me a lot of New Orleans. Where I was raised, of course, and going to Acres Homes, I tell you what, the kids that they had at the center when I first got there, I automatically knew that I wanted to bridge the kids that I was working with in Spring, more so Northborough, Greens Point, aka Guns Point, Cypress Station, those neighborhoods, they get busy, all day, every night. And it's just like New Orleans, it's 12-year-olds, 13, 14-year-olds. But going in Acres Homes, what they was doing over there with Bishop Dixon and Miss Tanya and everybody over there, they was raising those kids from, the cradle, basically. We start off early at our community center, with daycare. So I'm looking at these kids, they're the same age. You know, a lot of them had dreadlocks. You know, they had the stereotypical look that might say trouble, but because these kids was raised in a different environment, they was completely different. They greet you differently. They react differently. They respond differently. You know, when you challenge them, when you test them, when you call them out, when you try to hold them accountable, they respond how you want a kid to be able to respond. So I knew instantly I had to bridge a gap between North Spring and moving down into Acres Homes. So our program in Acres Homes, it grew from maybe 30 kids to roughly 100. So a lot of those kids came and they learned the way. You know, they were showing examples of leadership, not from only the adults, but from the kids. And I think that's the most important thing, is to start raising kids up at a younger age in a much better environment so that they can be better examples to their pupils.
Yes, sir, man. That's we share the same thing. You know, I posted today, man, where it's hard to be something that we can never see, right? And so then it got to be the people like us that got to come in and really lead by demonstration. You know, and I think that's what get the kids. You know, I talked to a little kid today, man, and you know, we talked a lot about just life, but when we talked about that bag, right? And I was telling him, you ain't got to be out here hustling and you ain't got to be doing this. That brother say, well, what I'm supposed to do?
What you
and
got?
Then I was able to drop him. Yeah, that's it, man. But it had to be me already doing something to show him different, not me just talking it, you know? Right. So that's what it's about, brother. Now, as we move into that, you know, I can't let you go past this Walden University commercial here, man. I'm on my YouTube. I'm looking at my videos. And the next thing I know, I see you walking to the room with the artwork, man. So talk to me about how did that commercial come about, and what was the overall grander scheme in you getting that opportunity?
Big shout out to the W, man, to Walden University. Just to backtrack it for a second, when I first came to Houston, I started working with a community center, and immediately got an interview with a Houston newspaper article, right? So this is 2011, right?
Okay.
The last paragraph, I state about community centers. I said that every community of 100,000 or more blacks, right? So I could rephrase that as any hood, 100,000 more people. A community center is needed to see who needs an alternative form of education, an alternative form of employment. So from that publication through the Houston newspaper, I started to say, okay, well, how do I want to put some education behind this. I want to learn about community development and the programs and the systems. So that's what got me to Walden in 2011-ish, right? Wrote my first grant for Walden and was awarded $5,000 when I was at Klein Forest High School. So that was my first grant that I wrote right there. You see my boys in there. That was a program that I started called the Ambassadors Club. A lot of those young men were already in the prison system, right? In and out. And at that time, 2012, in Houston, the Klein area, it was a new gang being started. TYG, Tempted Young Goons.
Come on now.
So I knew immediately I had to kind of be the in-between between these kids who are wanting to get in the gang, already in the gang, and the gang is choosing them. So Walden helped me by giving me the $5,000 grant. I mean, I was able to, you know, we had seminars, we would meet. I brought some other brothers into it, so we have a nice, you know, a nice group or whatever. I was able to take them to field trips, African American Museum, you know, renting out a big old stretched out white Hummer, you know, because who's to say them kids ever had or will ever have that type of experience?
Yes, sir.
You know, so by showing them all of those things, we grew closer. And also my relationship with Walden grew closer. So fast forward, I'm still pushing my idea of a community center. So I started to write grants. So going through Walden, wrote a grant through Walden, and that is what awarded me the $25,000, the grant, the check and everything. They came down, showed love to the community center. And that's just been how we've been rocking,
How we been rocking, man.
So through their support, we was able to put a lot of programs into place, a lot of scholarship programs into place, and I'm very grateful. And also they gave me courage that the message that I'm trying to give out is not falling on deaf ears.
Yes, sir.
People who do things in our field, especially community activists and developers, a lot of time we feel like it's falling on deaf ears. Nobody cares. But I'm ever grateful and thankful to Walden University for giving that grant. I'm definitely an agent of social change. That's what Walden promotes, and I'm looking to build up more social agents with myself.
Man, and I know you say you wrote the grants. Now, did you have a grant writer, or you were pretty much instrumental in writing all of your own grants to get all the funding you procured?
I write all my grants.
Yeah.
I do the research. I've become very keen on what the grantor is looking for. You have to read their mission and vision statement, see who aligns with exactly what you're trying to do. But yeah, it's a very long process, but writing is one of my passions. Though writing is a therapy for me. When I was going through a personal transformation around 2009, 2010, I started writing, and I ended up writing a book. And then that led to writing grants and wrote a curriculum that also helped get money for the community center. I wrote a STEAM curriculum that I incorporate sports with. Yeah. So writing is a passion of mine. So I'm glad that Walden monetized it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Now, when you got ready to start writing those grants, because I wanted to touch on that. I have so many friends who are looking to do that, start up these nonprofits, right? But we know that part is very important. So what was the first place that you started to look to as you said, okay, I'm gonna do this myself?
So I categorize it on 3 different levels. There's local, there's local funding that you can receive, grants. There's state grants, and also there's federal grants. So for example, a local grant might be the Walmart grant that I wrote, the community award. More of a state grant would be something that's offered through Texas, through Harris County, or something like that. And something more federal would be Walden University. So I just kind of hit all 3 levels. I might have a list of maybe 5 for each level. And out of that 15, you'll probably get 1. So it's not a process that works a lot. Yeah. But if you keep putting pen to paper, you just never know what'll happen.
Yeah, that's it, man. Well, I sure appreciate that info. And once again, congratulations to you for really getting it done, staying persistent, and keeping the eyes on the prize. I know it sounds cliche, but I tell my kids each day, man, don't do nothing that will take you away from your goal. Mm-hmm. Right. So I think as you do that 1 out of 15, it does get discouraging. But like you say, once you master that craft, then the world is your playground.
That's right.
That's right. It, man. Speaking of that, I know we talked about the sports program, and you had a young man that was on last time. Man, can you give us any updates on that young man?
Yes. Raekwon Washington.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Ray scored 8 touchdowns in one game. 8 touchdowns.
For his college.
College, yes, sir. Langston University. He threw for 5 and ran for 3. And when the game was over, I told him good job, and I looked him in the face and told him get ready for class. Yeah. Just because you had a good game, you're going to be the big man on campus. Make sure your butt is in an 8 o'clock class early, and make sure you're not missing no assignments, because sports can only take us so far, but character will take us through life.
Yeah. I was fortunate enough to be an MC for a event that was partnered between 100 Black Men of Houston and the State of African American. The African American Health Coalition, called the State of African American Health. And I ended up meeting a brother there from the Harris County Sheriff's Office, and he told me that they have a sports program that they bring to elementary schools. Mm-hmm. And so I don't know if you heard about it or not, but I know you've been working on these type of programs, been working on research and improvement for a while. So, man, I guess talk to me about some of that research and how schools can use programs like yours to build up the community and sustain around them.
Yeah. So for a second, I took a few doctoral classes about sports administration and society. Just to kind of read a little bit and gain some research information on top of what I've already experienced. So myself growing up as an athlete, if you wanted to teach me something, you had to make it relatable to sports, right? If you want to teach me a life lesson, anything, you related it to sports, you had my attention. So a lot of the curriculum or whatnot, it had nothing to do with sports, right? So the curriculum that I wrote, I made it a point to include sports in science, technology, engineering, athletics, and math. The A in athletics is very important to what we do. Sports is the one thing that most prejudices, stereotypes, racisms, hatred, when you're on the field of battle, when you're on the court, when you're in the locker room, when you're going through two-a-days in summer camp and it's 115 degrees, all of those things fade away. So sports, that's the one arena that I see, if utilized correctly, then that can be the change to society that we need. If there's a partnership between sports and education, now we're talking about social change. You know, I love what somebody like LeBron James is doing, what he's building. You know, he built his school or whatnot. But if there was a system to where that can be duplicated in multiple cities, now look at that impact. So the policemen and actually firefighters as well have police leagues where they come into schools and work with kids, because when that white man with a badge, you know, when he pulls out the basketball and starts to dribble and shoots, nobody looks at him anymore as the enemy. You know, there's somebody I'm about to either guard up, D up, jack, cross up, take his ankles. You know, it becomes more of a fellowship when we're playing sports. So I'm really looking to utilize the sports arena to help me with this social change thing.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That's it, man. And so outside of the education and the sports, kind of talk to me about some more things going on. I see you got a lot back there on the board, man. So I need all the info, man.
So we'll go ahead and get to our little lesson. I'm gonna try to keep it 5 minutes, but what we have at my community center, this is what I'm trying to first of all grow us to, so that we are self-sustainable. Annually, we're able to provide a certain amount of scholarships for kids so that they don't have to pay for the programs. So my whole idea for a community center is to provide services at and through it, right? Everything doesn't have to happen at the community center. And most importantly, it does not have to be a big, huge, pretty building, right? So what I have behind me is a new educational model. Right, it's a new business plan for it. If somebody wanted to say, well, I want to affect education in my city, right? I'm somebody of prominence. I can help out. I don't know how, right? So this is a business plan that, if implemented, we can get results, right? So let me go ahead and break that down.
Yes, sir.
All right, so at the top, we focus on, as I said again, back in 2010, alternative education and job training. So for alternative education and job training, you see, I go back to the 100,000 residents, and then I break it down. For alternative education, out of 100,000 residents, about 1% of them may be the ages of 3 to 6, right? Now, out of that gives you 1,000. You break down 10% of them, because some of them kids gonna be good. They're gonna grow up in affluent households. Both parents got educations. They read at night, whoop-de-whoop, everything. Break that down to 10 more percent. That's your pipeline kids. You're going to have 100 kids for every 100,000. You're going to have 100 kids that's facing illiteracy. Now, why is illiteracy underlined? Because illiteracy and crime is closely linked together.
Yes, sir.
75% of all inmates are categorized as being illiterate, right? I'm going to jump to the other side real quick. Job training, 100,000 residents. You're going to have about 10% between the ages of 12 to 25. That's 10,000. You break that down. 10% of those are going to be at risk. So now you got 1,000 kids at risk between the ages of 12 to 25. 10% of them already gone to the pipeline. After that pipeline hit, now I got 100 kids facing prison and or death. And there's no escaping it. There's no escaping it. For that age range, 12 to 25, if there's no resources set up for these 100 kids, inevitably, research through numbers, they're going to continue to populate the prison system. These 8 areas up here, these 8 areas, and I'm real big on numbers, right? 8 is the number of new beginnings. If we keep saying the system is broken, the system is broken, no, the system is not broken. The system is going to work how it's set up to work, and it's going to continue to. But this is the new way of doing things. We want to take control of our community, and it's not about being powerful. It's not about being in control. It's about having resources. That's what it's all about. So these 8 things are all resources, right? Sustainable water, food being grown, education. I have education prior to 1954, because in 1954, education got very political, right? Very political. We don't need the big buildings. It doesn't even take somebody such as myself with 45 degrees, right, to teach a kid, to reach a kid. We just said it. Each one reach one. They're going to see us and be eyes open automatically because we can relate to them, right? So it doesn't take fancy degrees or all that to be, quote unquote, a teacher, somebody that leads kids. Housing, a community center. We have to have housing set up for people. Homelessness is a problem that's affecting everybody. Everybody's been affected by homelessness. Health. There's a lot of trauma in our community, right? We need to touch on mental health, emotional and physical health. Security. If you're going to build something, how are you going to secure it? The brothers who built Black Wall Street, they didn't think about that, right? So for people, going to always want to destroy what you're doing. Somebody going to always hate you when you're doing something good. We build something, we're going to protect it. We have cameras all around the community center. We have bars. We have people that watch it, that's on watch. So you won't be able to come and do what you want to do to something that we establish. Commerce. We need to build ecosystems, right, within our community. But this all starts with the kids. I'm going to say it again. This all starts with the kids. The last thing, artistry, reconnecting them to what real art is. That's going to be something that's going to shape the culture, right? All of these revolve around reinvesting in kids and the youth. The investment is right here. $250,000 annual per community center. What is that going to give you? That's going to give $1,500 of funding per child for private education. We want to focus on EC through 2. We don't want to keep kids throughout the whole time in a smaller private setting. We want them to be able to go out and compete with their counterparts who don't look like them, who's not from their community. We want them to go out and do that. EC through 2, 3rd grade, the STAR test kicks in. We want our children to already be prepared with the fundamentals. Again, prior to 1954, you couldn't find too many kids who couldn't read, write, and do their arithmetic. The 3 R's, as grandmama used to say. We might have been fools, heathens, cutting up, but we had our 3 R's right, so we was able to become something.
Yes, sir.
Our kids now are fools, heathens, cutting up, and missing the 3 R's. So that prison system is pumping.
Yeah.
All right? Provide something for those children. Early childhood to 2 years old. Over here, this, $1,000 annual for scholarships or fellowships. That's what we do. When I'm out there talking to businesses and trying to get them to give scholarships, that's what we could provide job training to these kids ages 12 to 25. Because KT, you touched on it earlier, and I'll go ahead and hop back on here. I don't want to bore everybody with a lecture or whatever from the board. You touched on it earlier. You talk to a kid between the age of 12 and 25 whose mama is struggling. Bills not being paid. There's not much food. There's not much game you could give them. I've tried. There's not much you could tell them. You have to be able to provide something tangible, an actionable item. Hey, come to my community center. In 6 months, you can have a forklift, right? You can operate machinery. You can do HVAC. You can do electricity. Everywhere around you look, there's money being made, but we don't understand how to get to it because there's nobody training our kids to do it, yes, right? All of those wood shops and all those type of programs was taken out of the school. Why? We don't have time. We don't even care, right? Because we all about solutions and moving forward and marching forward. You have to be able to provide job training to the youth. You can't talk to them. You can't show them nothing. Put something in their hand. So that's what we're doing at the community center, just trying to connect as many resources at and through so that we can have less kids going to prison.
Say, man, I'm just gonna start. just start snapping for that, man. Very powerful information. It puts me back to when I was coming up and we had the Volunteers of America Lighthouse, right? So every day after school, we in the hood, right? In the hood. That's the only way we was getting out to see something different. They would come pick us up from the lighthouse, take us down there, give us that training, make sure we got them 3 R's, right? And then the bus driver was the person who really gained me up for life. And then they drop us back off. In between then, the night then came, and so all of that time after school where I'm really got that trouble times, that is what my grandma had me spent doing, right? So I was getting my homework done. I was out the way of harm's way, but it was somebody who had that mindset, and his name, I want to say Ron Clark was the guy who was over it when we was there. And so Mr. Clark was the guy who we'd always look to be, right? Because we knew he was the big man. But then we still had teachers like Miss McGee, people like Miss Teller, who was always coming back and putting into us, right? So awesome information that you just gave, brother. If that is not a class in itself for someone to help, and I look forward to being able to share this information so somebody could come back in. Let's get a few comments before we go further. Shout out to Miss Hare. What's up, Miss Hare? Sports is a great equalizer. Awesome to integrate sports as a connection to work with students. Most definitely. As Nakia said, everything was so true. I think she started talking about when, like you say, when you first started talking about that equalizer.
And not even for the lady work with students is also good for working with adults.
Yeah.
For us working with adults, because keep it 100. We have stereotypes. We all have hidden biases, racism. But again, when you sweat, when you bleed with a person, you see we all the same.
See, we all the same, man. That's what that it builds camaraderie. Like I say, even with them coaches, I think about when I was in College Station, people from all walks of life. And man, we in College Station, so we got people coming from everywhere down in the South, right? But once we get out to that field, I don't care your background or anything. When it's time for us to go to war, we going, right? So most definitely it's that equalizer. She said the children are truly our future. Well thought out plan. Experience is the best teacher, and it's all about that implementation. Then shout out to Ms. Hare one more time. Smart to invest in youth, artistry, and literacy go hand in hand. Reading, writing, and arithmetic. Yes, job training at that teen level.
3 R's.
So shout out to Ms. Hare, man, and the kid for coming through and just being a part of the conversation tonight, brother. That was really, man. We should have just gone shut it down. Might drop after that, man, because what a blueprint, right? And blueprint. It's not again, it's not what we talking about. It's what we doing and what you've seen happen. Yes, sir. So that I look forward to, man, just working up in them 3 to 6 months, coming back and then talking about how it all play out.
Definitely.
Yes, sir, man. So now, as we talk about the schoolhouse and the community, everything goes hand in hand, right? I know Killer Mike said, man, if you're not being able to grow your own food and sustain, you're not ready for the revolution. How does this plan, let's say, for instance, inside of Acres Home, right? How does this automatically put us in place to be ready for the revolution?
Man, I just want to, just say thank you, to people like Killer Mike, Ice Cube, Dr. Uma. I mean, it's too many to name, but people who have a heart to help and who trying to do something, man, I just want to say thank you. We won't never probably get a chance to meet face to face, but thank you for being part of the marathon. We all fighting that same fight. Like you just said, when you put your uniform on and go to war, we all together. Yeah. When we step outside and we see homelessness, when we see kids that's, dropping out of school, kids hungry, trying to sell water, that's a war that we all need to fight. So we definitely have war together. And that goes back to the example, one of the examples on the food. I mean, on the board, being able to grow and sustain your own food and water filtration systems. At any time, the person who's in control, whoever it is, however he or she may look, If they want to cut off your water supply, they want to cut off the food or whatever, what are you gonna what will we do? You know, that also ties into health. We understand the research on genetically modified things being put in our food, food being grown superficially. I mean, all kind of fake food and fish being grown in tanks and whatnot together, eating each other feces. And so we know that we're not putting the best things in our body, but that's what's provided for us. What else are we gonna eat?
Yes, sir.
Well, it's time to go back again. A lot of things we have to go and take a step back from our ancestors. You know, that's really my driving force. You know, my ancestors, my close relationship I had with my grandfather, you know, both of my grandfathers, both of my grandmothers. You know, they taught me a lot of stuff. They talked to me about the 30s, the 40s, the 50s, how things were. And I would just say, man, I wish I could be back then.
Yeah. When it was pure.
Man, come on, we growing our own stuff. You go down to the market, you go take your basket, you go get your tomatoes, you get this and that. Okay, every community, once again, of 100,000 people, need a marketplace they can go and get sustainable food because grandmama blood pressure high. She don't need to keep eating this stuff. Her arthritis acting up. We need to grow her some beets, right? Some fresh cranberries or something, apples, something.
Yeah. Now, when you think about the funding for programs like these, is it a certain niche or a certain place that I go to really look for the grants that would help me suffice with this? Or and when I say certain place, I'm thinking like specific, like, okay, well, I want to start the water filtration. Do I necessarily have to go looking for water companies, or can I do something like the Walboys and all those other places to be able to fund this type of drink?
What I would say is my thing that I'm working forward to doing, instead of going out to get so many businesses, because that's another hit and miss a lot of times. Writing grants, a lot of hit and miss. It's good to still do those things, but my mission for the next 10 years, I set a mission last 10 years getting a community center. That's here. It's not the next 10 years. I just need 1,000 people. I want 1,000 people on the same wave I am, right? We get so comfortable with saying, oh man, if Jay-Z would do this, if this, billionaire, this millionaire would do this, that's how you know this in that person's heart, right? How you know that person just don't want to create generational wealth for their own lineage? There's nothing wrong with that. But there's people out there who want to help. There's people out there that want to help people outside of their family, outside of their house. Those are the people I'm going to be recruiting. When we get to about 500, I'm going to create an LLC. When we get to about 750, we'll start publishing things. We get to 1,000, we're going to start moving units, as in going from city to city and implementing what we have in Acres Homes. Because you use the perfect word, it's a blueprint. It's a traveling model. It's not something that I'm trying to sell. If Gatorade, holler at me. If Gatorade wanted to run a promotion, they're trying to clean up communities. Here's the blueprint right here. We don't need to reinvent the wheel. Okay, so this is for anybody, but I want individuals who's dedicated to this. We must clean up the crack epidemic. I'm gonna say that again.
Yeah.
The effects of crack, the crack epidemic, that's what we're dealing with.
Yes, sir.
Everything broke down. All the systems broke down. The pride broke down. So in these communities where you see high poverty, high crime, you could best believe crack was in that city. Gary, Indiana, Compton, Detroit, Chicago, New Orleans, Houston, Compton. So we got to backtrack and build up these community centers to clean up the mess that was made.
Yes, sir, man. And that's why it's so important that we have those events. I think about when we was at Buddha Wig that night, man, we was able to pull out maybe like 100 families, man, but it was all guys, right? So the young men in there being able to see daddy or granddad or uncle with them saying that I value you, I value your education, right? Let me pull up for you. I think that's where it starts. But then, like you say, how do we bridge that gap between what we're seeing in that education and in that school to also what we're seeing in that community? Because I've seen a lot of breakdown. And I want to say it's because we don't have that blueprint, right? We got people who want to move, but then we need the choreographer.
That's
choreographer who can just move us, man. And so it's so important when you talk about plans like what you have or what you've done in the community center, because it's only when we show people that it can be done do they want to jump on the boat. A lot of people say they want to wait. I call them blisters. All right, they sure about all the work is done. But
Yeah.
right now, like you said, we trying to get 1,000 in the middle of it, man.
Yeah.
So awesome work, man. What's next for you? I know it's got to be greater later. So what you got up your sleeve, brother? How's you getting this to the second city?
Man, I am going to utilize social media.
Yeah.
You know, now I have a Facebook. Now I got away from social media for a while because I was doing so much writing. And, you know, focus and time are enemies.
Mhm.
You know, focus and time are enemies. So if something is taking away your focus, you got to put it down and better utilize your time. So that's just what I did. But I'm trying to, you know, I'm going to recruit, you know, through social media, also word of mouth, hosting events like we had at school, the Man Up, you know, that's 100 right there.
Yeah.
So just continuing to spread the word, but also, like you said, the game plan, right? This is Coach Pittman calling the huddle, right? Huddle up. We understand. People always say that 1% is controlling the 99%. We understand what's going on. We're not worried about policies, laws, this. We're not worried about none of that in that huddle. That's what they running. We're going to call our huddle, and we're going to make plays.
There we go, man. Red ocean, blue ocean. Let's see. Nakia said history is so very important to understand and learn about. That's the only way you know where you're going, if you know where you've been.
That's right.
She said, where you located, brother? So where are you? And let's go ahead and give out that information, man. But I know we got the book that we talked about. So I guess give us the location of where you at, and then talk to me a little bit about the book too.
So I'm located in basically Houston and New Orleans. What I'm doing in Houston, I'm trying to mirror at the same time in New Orleans. I'm basically all over Houston, on north side, south side, A-Leaf. So, you know, I'm I'm everywhere a 12 or 13-year-old is about to make a bad decision at. That's where I'm at.
Come on, like the bad signal.
Man, speaking of that, the book that I wrote, man, it was an indictment, right? I started writing this book in 2010, 2011. I didn't have the courage or the character, really. I'm gonna say I didn't have the character at the time to put it out. I wasn't completely living everything I wanted to be living as in the book. So everything started to shape up in around 2017. I was able to do a first publishing, and then I did a final edit in 2020. So everything that's in the book was written in 2012. So you're going to read some things in there. You're going to hear some names in there. Like, well, how he knew that was coming, how he knew this person was coming to be the leader of the country in 2012. I knew somebody was coming, looking at the scope of the things. And it's a self-help book. The title of it is Daily Righteousness. So I titled it My Doctor. And daily righteousness, for every letter, is an acronym. For example, the first one is deny yourself, right? So I'm convicting myself all throughout the book, right? Convicting myself. And it's really for that person who's right there on the edge of, I can do good, but it's easier to do wrong. Yeah. Right. So I wrote it specifically for that age and for that mindset, for that character. So if anybody on here, if you have, you know, a son, daughter, you know, they in that teenage age, it's a perfect read for them. It's short, maybe about 20 pages. And I'm gonna work on the audiobook just in case y'all don't want to read, what you should.
Hey, that is, man. Awesome work, man, that you're doing. And I want to just cover those essential pieces one more time before we get out of there. So man, can you give me those 8 components that we talked about before we close out?
And in no particular order of importance at all. You got artistry, right? Reshaping the culture. Sustainable water. People in Flint shouldn't have been without water for that long. Food being grown, stored, and distributed. Education prior to 1954. That's going back into a smaller building, smaller location, where your teacher is somebody from the community. Might be an old lady who just might want to volunteer, but she's going to read with you and she's going to teach you your 3 R's. Housing resource. We have to connect housing resources for the homelessness, right? This is getting out of hand. We have too much money in America for people to be homeless. We send money every other where We spend money on this and that. My tax dollars, everybody's tax dollars. There's too many homeless people. Health, mental, emotional, physical, obesity. That touches on the eating thing. So all of these things kind of work hand in hand. Security, right? If you're going to build something, secure it. Don't just think that it's going to stand and people not going to take it. That everybody is not goodwill. There's some bad will people that look like us, that look like white as the board. It doesn't matter. It's the character, content of the character. Commerce. We must be able to create ecosystem to where the dollar in that 100,000 residents, that dollar recycles, yes, right? So that now we can have future developments of laundry mats, barbershops, whatever that we need to keep the money in the community. And that was it. That's the yes, 8. Sir. You know, 8 is the number of new beginnings. So that's the model to get new things going. Come on, man. FUBU. Yeah. Yes, sir. Christian says I can do good or I can deny myself and do great. Come on, Harry. Right. So I'm gonna get my contact board right here for you. Yes, sir. All right. Email Pittman_sports@yahoo.com. If anybody wants to support or whatnot, or if you are somebody who your child is in need of a mentor, athletic trainer, life coach, if your organization needs a guest speaker, a grant writer, curriculum writer, contact me at the email Pittman_sports@yahoo.com. Anybody that feels driven to support the community center, what I have going in my mission, that's the Cash App, that's the cash tag, that's my contact and my mission. Come on, man. That's it, brother. That's it, man. I appreciate the night, brother. Very, very important. I mean, I'm just, hey, man, if you're not fired up to go out and do something, I know we got another man up event coming to Holler, where we'll be out there, man. And we got a bunch of guests coming out. But, man, if you're not inspired after tonight, man, to be able to understand that it don't take the big buildings, right? Mm-mm. It don't take an army. Mm-mm. It just take that plan and a little will to say, I'm not going to stop even when it get hard. The man never failed at a plan. He just failed to plan. My papa taught me that. Come on, man. That's it, brother. And give us the email one more time before we get out of here. My last name, Pittman. Pittman_sports@yahoo.com. Shoot me an email. Let's link up. Let's get this thing taken together. Be part of that mighty 1,000 because we're going to move it. Look, y'all, if y'all ain't getting that from tonight, we going to have a different conversation, man. Once again, Coach Pittman, man, I appreciate you for your time tonight. Stopping through, dropping nothing but great content for us. I look forward to being able to cut these clips up and just give people parts of those 8s, man, and kind of drive them to the program to also give you that support. Hope that answered the questions. I want to thank everybody who tuned in tonight, everybody who participated in the conversation. The work is just beginning. Mm-hmm. So please be one of those 1,000 who will be able to make this change with us, man. All right, brother, that will do it for us, man. Any last words before we close out? Man, peace, love, justice, and a pursuit of happiness. That's everybody right. That's everybody right, man. All right, y'all, that will do it. This is KT for KTTV signing out. 100.
This is Darnell with Broadcast Houston.
This is Dr. Tamara Beckford.
Hey, this is Candace.
This is London Underwood.
This is Kirsten Bass with Inner City Greens, and you're watching.
Y'all are now tuned in to
KTTV.
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 KTTV, is that right?